After 40 years of work, technician Didier Faure wants to live the good life. He's about to retire, and he says it's not a moment too soon.
I have paid 40 years to contribution for my pension, and I take 1 hour to go to the job and to come back to home another hour. I am tired.
But President Sarkozy, who nearly got hit by a plastic bottle while visiting a school this week, says the current pension scheme's no longer affordable. He's expected to raise the retirement age, so there's enough money for pensions for these children when they're old. On average, French people spend 24 years in retirement, a lot more than in most other developed nations. And many of them see retiring at 60 as a vital part of the quality of life they're determined to hold on to, despite globalization and increasing competition from emerging economies. But the unions are fighting the plan.
First of all, it's because it's very unfair according to the situation of the people who started to work very young, tough jobs, low paid, so it's not a solution for them, definitely not. And second, it's because it's not a solution as far as financing the pension scheme is concerned. So for those two reasons, we don't think that raising the age of retirement is acceptable.
But even those like Didier, who oppose the government's plan, have been shaken by the crisis in Greece. And the unions fear that the French public will come to accept the reforms, painful as they may be. David Chazan, BBC News, Paris.
He's the only sitting head of state wanted for war crimes by the International Criminal Court, but that hasn't stopped some other African leaders and foreign diplomats from attending the inauguration of Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir today. He'll be sworn in after his re-election last month, and that poll was marred by opposition boycotts, of course, and allegations of widespread fraud. James Copnell is our correspondent in Khartoum. I put it to him, it might seem a bit bizarre to some people that several foreign leaders are attending this inauguration.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I think African and Arab countries, almost right from the start, since the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant against him just over a year ago, have rallied round him. He's had public professions of support from many of those countries, and equally from the bodies, regional bodies that represent them. Many of them feel that it's a sort of selective justice, a targeting of African countries, that ICC has made an attempt to target those countries within Africa and leave others aside. And also others feel that a head of state shouldn't be targeted by the ICC simply because that sets a bad precedent. That's certainly what some leaders simply seem to be feeling, and I think that probably explains the fact why President Bashir's supporters say that at least 5 current presidents will attend his inauguration today.
And briefly, James, during his next period in office, he's going to have to deal with this question of southern Sudan. There's going to be a referendum, isn't there, soon on secession for southern Sudan?
Absolutely. It's the consequence of a 2-decade-long civil war. So in January, Southerners are going to be able to vote on possible independence. The country is almost de facto divided in 2 already because the former Southern rebels, the SPLM, control the south. Most people believe that if the Southerners get a free and fair vote, a new country will be born in January, but all the effort of both north and south will go towards that referendum in the next few months.
It's a small mountainous territory fought over by Armenians and Azerbaijanis during and after the collapse of the former Soviet Union 2 decades ago. Many thousands of Azeris fled Nagorno-Karabakh at the time, and it's still a very sensitive issue there. Now the authorities have commissioned a lavish opera about the war. Our correspondent Tom Esselmont has been to the Azerbaijani capital Baku to meet the cast and crew.
These performers are offering a glance into Azerbaijan's history. The women in white are preparing to take part in an opera which tells the story of a tragic war. But the opera Intizar is a true story. Nagorno-Karabakh was the center of a conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia in the 1990s. The issue is still deeply sensitive to Azeris because Armenia now controls the territory. On stage, the war is blamed on sinister characters, men in black. Though they're not actually referred to by name, the Azeri actors are in little doubt as to their relevance.
The topic is Nagorno-Karabakh. you'll know about our situation there with the Armenians. Through this opera, we can convey the message that Nagorno-Karabakh is our territory.
This opera is incredibly important, not just because it's a major cultural event here, but because the war in Nagorno-Karabakh